You might be familiar with the Minus World. It's the most famous glitch in gaming history. In the original Super Mario Bros., if you clip into the wall at the end of 1-2, you can enter a warp pipe before it's properly loaded in. Instead of taking you to World 4 like normal, you're taken to World -1. It's an underwater stage that resembles level 7-2 from the main game. Now, the Minus World itself isn't the most exciting level, just your standard water stage, and when you get to the end, you're sent right back to the start. It loops forever, with no actual end. The Minus World appears in nearly all re-releases of Super Mario Bros. And is identical in most of them. But there's one huge exception. In 1986, a year after the game's release, it was ported to Nintendo's new add-on in Japan, the Famicom Disk System. And while the Minus World is present, it is totally different. There's not just -1, but also -2 and -3, glitched out levels that actually have ends. And in addition to being way cooler, it makes for an amazing speedrun. Players have competed with each other to get to the end of -3 as quickly as possible. They've found some brilliant strategies to do so, and it's led to one of the most optimized speedruns of all time. Let's take a look at how we got there. This is the crazy history of Minus World ending speedruns. Okay, first question to get out of the way. Does this really count as a speedrun? Are you actually beating the game? Well, no, you're not actually reaching the end, defeating Bowser, and rescuing the princess. But if you reach the end of -3, the game does act as though you've beaten it. You're sent back to the title screen, and once there, you can play Second Quest and select a world with the B button. These are both features that are only unlocked once you beat the game. So, as to whether you're really beating the game, that's up to you to decide. And if you'd like to argue about it in the comments section below, please feel free. But either way, it makes for a sick speedrun. It may seem trivial, but the saga that's about to unfold is anything but. And the origins of the category come from the year 2013, when a game collector named Oatax purchased a Famicom Disk System. He had seen tool-assisted speedruns of Minus World ending from players named Phil and Happy Lee, and decided it would be fun to try it in real time. So on September 9th, 2013, Oatax performed the first ever speedrun of Minus World ending, clocking in at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. There are only 5 levels in this speedrun: 1-1, 1-2, -1, -2, and finally -3. So you have 5 levels to optimize as much as you possibly can. Here's how Oatax went about doing that. In 1-1, he ran ahead and picked up a mushroom. This was so he could do the Minus World clip later, which is only possible with Big Mario. He quickly finished the level and entered 1-2, where he picked up a fire flower. This let him clear enemies out of his way so he could make it through the stage while barely hesitating. Finally, it was time to go to the Minus World. He came to a stop on top of the pipe, then carefully crouch jumped into the corner. For details on why this works and why the Minus World even exists, check out this video from Cosmic. But basically, Mario lands on a specific part of this block where he can stand. After that, he's able to run right through the wall. Oatax did that, killed the Piranha Plant, and then was off to the Minus World. Level -1 is pretty strange. It's like level 1-3, except underwater with enemies from a castle level, complete with Princess Toadstool and Bowser. It makes for a convoluted looking stage, but the speedrun is pretty straightforward here. Oatax simply dodged enemies and swam to the end, reaching the underwater flagpole. Next up is -2, a stage identical to 7-3 from the main game. Oatax had to run across the bridges while being careful to avoid flying Cheep Cheeps and Koopas. Sometimes Cheep Cheeps can get in the way, but Oatax handled it beautifully and beat the level while barely hesitating. And now for level -3. This one is really weird. It's an underground version of the 4-4 castle level with underwater enemies like bloopers. Now normally, 4-4 is a maze where you have to take the correct path. If you take one of the top paths, you loop back to the start. But in -3, that pattern isn't active, and the top paths instead lead to a wall. There's no getting through that. So, Oatax had to navigate his way to the bottom, then he was home free to run to the end and touch the axe. That's all it took. 5 levels and Oatax was done in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. For the first world record of a category, this was already looking pretty optimized. He barely slowed down anywhere, never got hit by anything, and that's why it still stands as the record today.